Which is better, the Samsung Galaxy A21 or the Samsung Galaxy A11? Well, in this video, we're gonna find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, coming at you with my comparison between the Samsung Galaxy A21 and Samsung Galaxy A11. These are both two very new devices that have been launched in 2020, and I have a great feeling that both of these phones are going to be very successful. Not only are they being offered factory unlocked, which you can find in the links in the video description, that's where the most up-to-date pricing can be found as well, but both of these devices will be making their way over to various carriers, and that's probably where the majority of people are going to be buying them from. But whether you're getting the phones unlocked or you're getting them from carriers, I'm really excited to point out the various differences and benefits of each one in this video. First thing is that I want to talk about the displays of both phones. So with the Samsung Galaxy A21, we are getting a 6.5-inch display, whereas with the Samsung Galaxy A11, we're getting a slightly smaller display at 6.4 inches. Now you can see when holding the bases of the two phones at the same level, the A21 without a doubt is the larger phone of the two, but it's not too much bigger than the A11. So it's not like you're gaining too much by having the A21 compared to the A11, at least when it comes to the display. Now, as far as the display technology being used, with the A21, we're getting an IPS LCD display, whereas with the A11, we're getting a TFT display, which is a special display technology from Samsung, but technically it is a little bit lower grade than IPS LCD. Now both displays here are 720p. With the A21, we're getting a 270 ppi compared to a 268 ppi with the A11. And with the A21, we're getting a 20:9 aspect ratio compared to a 19.5:9 aspect ratio with the A11. And then finally, with the A21, we're getting a 79.3% screen-to-body ratio compared to 81.6% with the A11. So you're getting a little bit of a taller, more narrow display with the A21, and then with the A11, a little bit of a shorter, wider display. But in general, you are getting a bigger display with the A21. Now both devices do feature hole punches for the front-facing cameras. And with the A21, we're getting a 13 megapixel front-facing camera compared to an 8 megapixel front-facing camera with the A11. Both phones do feature 32 gigabytes of internal storage, which can be expanded via microSD cards. Neither of these two phones have wireless charging, but they both do have fingerprint sensors on the rear. So we'll give those a try right now. Let's try out the A21, very fast. And now we'll try out the A11 very fast as well. In addition to the fingerprint sensors, both devices also offer facial recognition, which is something that's becoming more and more rare with budget devices. So I do appreciate that Samsung is giving us that with both phones. Now also on the back of both devices are the camera modules, and there are many similarities and differences with the two phones. So with the Samsung Galaxy A21, we're getting a 16 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 2 megapixel macro camera. And with the A11, we're getting a 13 megapixel main camera, a 5 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. So we are lacking the macro camera with the A11, and if you're not aware of what a macro camera does, it's essentially a camera that allows you to take very close-up photos. And in general, it's kind of a gimmick because I don't really see it as being too useful. Maybe if you're someone that absolutely loves to take photos of things close up, then it does come in handy. But I would assume that the majority of the population of people out there that are going to have either of these two phones would never even want to take macro photos. And you can still take really close-up pictures with the main camera on both devices as well. But here's how things look through the front-facing cameras on both phones. They do also both offer the ability to go in this other mode that's a little bit wider. So that's great if you do want to take a group selfie, for example. Now let's flip over to the rear cameras on both phones. And here's how things look through the main camera. We'll switch now to the ultra wide on both devices. And it looks like they're both about the same as far as the amount of content that's able to fit into the frame. And it really is awesome to see that the A11 does give us an ultra wide angle camera, because none of the A10 series phones from last year, such as the A10, A10e, or A10s, gave us ultra wide angle cameras. So it's really cool though that we are getting that here with the A11. Now definitely refer to my full review videos of both phones to get a better idea of the photo and video quality from both of them. But I'll tell you what, I think they're both really solid, and I also appreciate that with both devices, we are getting live focus portrait mode with both the front and rear cameras. So that's great as well. Now internally, there are some pretty big differences with these two phones. So the Samsung Galaxy A21 features 3 gigabytes of RAM compared to 2 gigabytes of RAM with the A11. And the A21 has the MediaTek Helio P35, and the A11 has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 450. So I'll show you the benchmark scores right now, and then we'll do a side-by-side speed test comparison a little bit later on in the video. But you can see that with the A21, I got an overall score of 104,432, and with the A11, I got a score of 89650. So certainly a bit of a better score here with the A21, and also the extra gigabyte of RAM will make a big difference when it comes to real-life usage. So that's very interesting. Now with both phones, video recording maxes out at 1080p. Both devices feature beefy 4,000 milliamp hour internal batteries with 15 watt fast charging compatibility. So that's very awesome as well. Both phones also give us Android 10 with Samsung's One UI 2.0 out of the box. So we're getting Samsung's user interface here. I did download a variety of my own applications to test out as I use both phones. But in general, Samsung's OS skin does give us some extra bonus features. Now definitely take a look at my tips and tricks videos for both devices to see specifically what those features are, because there sure are a lot of them. But now that we've talked a lot about the specifications of these two phones, let's get a little bit deeper into the hardware. Now I already talked a lot about the front panels on both devices, and the two phones do look very similar visually. You know, we're getting the hole punch for the front-facing camera up top. We're getting the thicker bottom bezels as well. And I think both phones do look decent, especially considering that they both are budget devices. And I bet if you went out in public and showed these phones to random people and asked them if these are cheap phones or expensive phones, most people would assume that they are more expensive than they really are, which is a good thing. Now taking a look at the left side of both devices, they both have just the slot for the microSD card and SIM card, and both phones are plastic beyond the display. Now one thing that I do like a lot about the A11 is that it's like one giant piece of plastic and almost reminds me a little bit of the iPhone 5C in the way that it looks, and that's in a good way. And I still think the A21 looks nice, but we are getting a two-tone plastic with a matte finish on the band running around the sides of the phone, and then more of a glossier finish on the back. So either way, I think both phones look nice. You're probably going to be using a case with both devices as well anyway, so the materials don't matter quite as much, but that's just my personal opinion about it. Now taking a look at the right side of both phones, they both have the volume buttons and they have the power button. Then on the top, they both have the noise canceling microphone. But with the Galaxy A11, we do have the 3.5mm headphone jack on the top. I personally prefer it to be on the bottom, but I can live with it on the top as well. And then taking a look at the bottom of the two phones, they both have the speaker, they both have the microphone, they both have the USB-C port for charging and data transfer. And with the A21, we do have the 3.5mm headphone jack. Then on the back of the two phones, we have similar looking camera modules here where they both look like a bean pod. We have the flashes, and then we have the fingerprint sensors. So both phones are very similar in design, but at the same time, they do have their own differences that certainly do set them apart. But let's now do a speed test comparison between these two phones. Okay, let's get going here. So let's start up the camera apps. 1, 2, 3, go. It looks like the A21 is a little bit quicker at pulling up the camera. Let's now go to Google Chrome on both phones. 1, 2, 3, go. Looks like it was about a tie with both devices. Both were very quick at starting up Google Chrome. Let's go to yahoo.com. 1, 2, 3, go. Looks like the A21 was a little bit quicker at pulling up Yahoo. Let's go to engadget.com on both phones. 1, 2, 3, go. It looks like the A21 is a little bit quicker, but the A11 is not too far behind. That is for sure. We'll give these both a chance to continue loading up here. And it looks like the ad did appear a little bit quicker on the A11, but not too far behind on the A21. But that's not really a major thing there to wait for it to load. Scrolling is smooth on both phones. Definitely a bit smoother though with the A21, which is interesting. Probably due to it having that extra gigabyte of RAM. Let's now go to this article. 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like the A21 is a little bit quicker pulling up the article. But it looks like the A11 is catching up here. And we'll see. These photos must be pretty big for how long they take. But it looks like the A21 has completed loading up the web page. So that's very interesting there. So in general, I would say that the A21 is faster. And definitely the extra gigabyte of RAM will make a difference, especially over the long term. But it's not like it's considerably faster. It's not like it's dramatically faster. It just is a little bit faster. So in conclusion, which phone is the better choice? Well, definitely the A21 is better than the A11 in every single category. There's really nothing about the A11 that makes it a better phone. But at the same time, these two devices have a lot more in common than you'd think. They both have the same amount of internal storage, so that is something where I wish the A21 gave us more of. It is nice though that both have micro SD card expansion. As far as the display quality goes, I feel like the A21 is a little bit better, but the A11 still has a good looking display. And yeah, there's really not a lot about the A21 that makes it better, really. So I think it really comes down to the price that you can get these phones at. Now, remember that both phones will probably, well, I know for sure they already have, but they're gonna be making their way over to a variety of different carriers. So the carriers will probably offer the A11 for a much better deal. In many situations, the A11 might even be available for free if you are switching in from another carrier, or even if you're upgrading to the A11 and sticking with your carrier, they'll probably give you a really good deal on it. And they'll probably do the same thing with the A21, but the deals might not be quite as good as the A11. So really the biggest benefit I feel like with the A21 is that you're getting better cameras. But beyond that, the A11 will still give you a very good experience. So again, it really comes down to the price that you can get these phones at, but I definitely don't think it would be a bad choice to go with the A11 over the A21. But if you do have either of these two phones, I think you chose wisely. It's not like one is a great choice and the other is a bad choice. These are both two very good phones. And that's really why I chose to cover both of them here on my channel. But I hope you enjoyed this comparison between the Samsung Galaxy A21 versus the Samsung Galaxy A11. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Check out the links in the video description to see the most up-to-date pricing for both phones. But my name is Kevin. Make sure to sub to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. I hope you have a fantastic day. Take care.